Hello and welcome, my name is Mr. QB. Oh, have we got something fun for this video. This escalator design I'll be showing you today can be stacked as many times as you like. In other words, you can raise it to as high as the sky cap, and it's quite fast as well, which is a nifty bonus. Once you've stepped into this escalator, you can let go of your keyboard, go grab some food, maybe a drink, close the bedroom door your parents decided to leave open, all whilst the escalator rapidly sends you upwards all by itself. So, if you want to learn how to build one of these and make your staircase to heaven, then let's get building. Firstly, grab yourself a nice piece of open land, exactly not like what I've got here on screen. Our first job is to set up the pistons. Follow as I place them in, ensuring you face them the same way as I do. Since we're only going to build the first section of the escalator for now, I'm going to make a small walkway on each side of the pistons. Continue placing in the next 3 pistons like so. Now, as usual with wool, we're going to set up the foundations for our redstone to rest on. I'm going to do this with 2 colors of wool, which I heavily recommend you do the same for the sake of replication later on. Make sure you follow along carefully. From this grey wool block here, I count 4 blocks away with white wool, and place another light grey wool block at the end. It is in between these 2 points where we will place our tripwire hooks and string. Changing wool colour now, we make the foundations for the second half of the design. Once again, just like before, we set up another active tripwire hook. That's the foundations complete, and now to add in the redstone, which thankfully this design doesn't need much of. Follow carefully as we place it in. Ensure you face these repeaters the same way as displayed on screen. Easy, but others may find it a little tricky, which is perfectly fine. It's for this reason that I'm happy to show an example of the steps I take to ensure I copy everything perfectly and that I don't run into any scenarios where the escalator won't work properly and the problem cannot be found. After all we're really doing is just following the same steps as we've just done, but there's a way to streamline that process, which we'll go through now. Okay, so the first thing we want to do, just like how we started off, is raise the pistons. Make sure all the top pistons are facing forward and all the bottom pistons are facing upward. And also make sure where you want to end the elevator, the top and bottom row of pistons are perfectly in line. Then, to mark the end of your escalator, you can add a little platform. Once that's done, now we follow the same steps as last time, but repeat them in a pattern fashion as we ascend up the pistons. Notice how we have 3 pieces of grey wool here, but only 2 here. Of course, everything must be the same, so I add in 1 more block where needed. Then, we follow that pattern as we go up towards the top of the escalator. Since we're up at the top of the escalator, this block in the pattern doesn't need to be there, so we can safely get rid of it. I now look for the next thing I can repeat in a pattern up the pistons, and I choose to do the tripwires for the grey wool and set them all up. Ensure all tripwire hooks have the string attached. Since we have 1 grey wool block here, we want to replicate that next to every second piston. That's the grey wool done, and now we're simply going to do the same thing with the blue wool. The first pattern is very easy, 1 blue wool every 2 blocks up the escalator. Next, we have these 3 blue wool blocks we need to repeat every second piston up the escalator. And now lastly for the blue wool blocks, setting up the tripwire hooks. Once you're done setting up all the tripwire hooks, I heavily encourage you double check every single row, grey and blue, that they have a tripwire hook set up, or your escalator will stop where the pattern breaks. Now for the final easy stretch, the redstone. As you can see, this wool block here has 1 redstone resting on top, therefore the rest of those wool blocks need that as well. This grey wool block on the left side of the escalator has a piece of redstone on top as well, meaning this too, of course, needs to be repeated. This grey wool block also has a horizontal trail, so I replicate that up the escalator as well. And the same with the blue wool block on the other side. And lastly, the repeaters for both blue and grey wool blocks. Ensure all of them are facing towards the center of the escalator. My demo escalator is completed for now, and I give it a quick test to ensure the pattern has been perfectly repeated. It is worth mentioning that using this escalator definitely takes some getting used to achieve a smooth momentum up the escalator. If you get stuck, don't stress, that is perfectly normal, as is the nature of elevators and escalators in Minecraft. Just go ahead and give it another shot and be patient with it. It's a quirky design, but fun when it works. I personally find holding down the forward walking key for a few seconds after the escalator has taken me usually helps quite a bit, or even sprinting into it to begin with, but I'm sure you'll find a few nifty tricks yourself to make your experience as stress-free as possible. So it is at this point you can replicate it as high as you want, and most of all, have some fun with it if you can get past the irritating little glitches you may experience. Also, maybe making a tunnel around the whole thing would be pretty cool as well. So whatever you decide to do with your new toy, I really wish you all the best. A big thanks to one of my fantastic builders, KJipGamer, for the design of this magnificent creation. If you're keen on seeing plenty of other cool little contraptions, my channel is littered with them, so I welcome you to go check them out whenever. Thanks for watching, and until next time, goodbye!